G'day, it's Robbie here again. Well, in that last video you would have seen where I'm working on this little flame liquor engine. I've got to make up a new counterbalance end for it, because this one, when it pulls up with a twist in it, and of course when it twists that puts extra friction and drag on the conrod big end. So I'm making up one out of some home cast aluminium, and I mic'd up the shaft, and the shaft mics up at 5.964. So then the challenge is to get a drill to drill out this that is that size or a bit under. And the danger with drills is always going to be that if you get one the exact size, the odds are that the drill's going to have a slight bend in it, or the way you mount it might be slightly off center, you know, your drill chuck or even your collet could be not exactly on the money. And so any angularity in the drill bit, and it will open up the hole in your job bigger than what you want. And that's exactly what happened. I mic'd it up. I found a drill which was a little bit undersized. It was 5.951, and we wanted to go 5.964, so it was, you know, it was acceptable. You'd think that would be okay. But the drill must have had a slight bend in it or something, because when I drilled it, the hole's too big by quite a margin. So this is the throwaway. This works no good. I've got to redo it. So this time I'm going to drill the hole first, get the centre hole done first, and then go on with the rest of the job, because the rest of the job's not as critical. You know, it's no good doing all that work and then do your centre hole last and you find that sloppy, the whole job's trash, you know. So this is basically trash. It's being remelted. So what am I coming to? Okay, if you're not sure, and you know, you can never be sure with drills, and it's why it's always a problem when you drill out flywheels or whatever, getting the exact hole size, you know, that you want. So there's only one way to do it really, and that is to drill well undersized and then use a very small boring bar. And this is why whenever you buy boring bar sets, the small ones are always going to be way more useful than the big ones. The big ones are only going to be able to do big stuff, big holes. The littlest boring bar can do a big hole. You know, it'll take time and be slow, but it will get you there. So that's why, yeah, little boring bars are something you should seriously consider. And if you ever buy a set of boring bars, always get them with small boring bars in them. Okay, there's a limit to what they go down to generally, and you might have to make up your own. And the one I'm using is one that's made out of some high-speed steel. But you can do it if you spend the time and grind them. But that's the only way I'm going to get a snug fit on this shaft, because you just cannot guarantee that the drill is going to drill the hole at the dimensions that you mic'd up the drill at. It can easily pull offline for a variety of reasons, you know. It could be the way the drill's ground on the end, it could be a bend in the drill, it could be the tail stock is out of alignment slightly, or anything could be wrong. So I'll show you what I'm doing, and you can see exactly how useful tiny little boring bars are. Here's some of my boring bars. As you can see, I've got plenty of them there, and most of them are, well, there's a lot of small ones and there's a lot of intermediate ones, very few really big ones, and that's because, yeah, the small ones are what you want, as I said previously. And we'll look at the smallest carbide one that I've got, and you can see how low you can generally go in carbide, and why that isn't going to be enough, and why high-speed steel is always going to be your best option for really small work. The way I work is I have two 4-way tool post holders, and one's a boring bar one, and one's for standard tooling, you know, for facing and longitudinal turning, and I can just swap them over in seconds. You know, it's just as good as a quick change tool post. I'll even set up all the time, because I know that there's certain tooling that I'll use pretty much exclusively. You know, the chance of changing out a whole lot of tooling is not high. You know what works, and you'll stick with it. Now in this case you can see we've got a carbide tipped boring bar, a reasonably heavy one. I've got a heavier one than that again, and then we've got a really small high-speed steel one, which I picked up actually from a tool maker at a sale, and I'm using that to bore out the really small centre for the shaft. It's very light because it's very long, but we're only doing very light cuts, so it won't matter. And it's only into aluminium. Once again, it won't matter. That's how it came. Now, if we compare it to the smallest carbide boring bar I've got, which is from this set of 3 that I got from Banggood, this is the smallest that I've got, and I think you can find that you can pick up easily with carbide, and that's not small enough. We have to go smaller again. So in this case, yeah, high-speed steel rules the day, and you'll find that for finish on aluminium, high-speed steel will give you a fantastic finish. It'll do that on any sort of metal really. It's not super hard. So you don't need carbide, okay? Quite often you'll find that you'll get a better finish with high-speed steel. Whenever you use a boring bar, you always use a carriage stop, if you've got one, or you use a readout of some sort. I find carriage stop is totally positive. You can't overshoot, and you know, in the case of long, thin boring bars, you don't want to put any extra load on the end where you could twist the whole thing or cause problems. And so you, before you actually even start machining, you take it into the bottom of the drill hole. You set your carriage stop. Then you come out and you're ready to go. And what you're going to do is you're going to machine very, very small increments as you go through, and after each machining you'll then try the shaft for fit. You're going to have to do this on a feel thing. As I said, in this case it's the only way you're going to do it. So I've already done a couple of passes, and we try the end. And it's close, but it's not close enough, so we have to take more out. We'll bring it in, and we'll start it up and bring the boring bar back until it just touches. I disturbed this to do the video, otherwise I would have just left it and carried on. But so I'll do a pass and then we'll come back and see how it works out. Okay, we're getting there. I've machined the centre hole, got a good snug fit. Drilled the 3mm and tapped it with a thread for the conrod big end, and done a 4mm hole and tapped it for a grub screw to lock this on. It's going to go on this way, and I'm going to machine some of this back away, step this down, but for now I'll put it on this way because it goes in quite nicely. And as you can see, that's a pretty snug fit. There's no wobble there, and that'll do the job quite nicely. So yeah, just a matter of machine a shoulder on this end, so that when it goes on, this will come in, up against the side of the centre of the bearing. That's the only point you want it to rub. And then it's a matter of put it together and see if it has any effect. I can actually lengthen the conrod throw a bit by drilling another hole further out and tapping it. You probably only want to go, well, can only actually go no more than 2 mil. That's as much travel, free play I've actually got to mess around with. So we'll see how this goes. If it doesn't work, well then I might do that. I might just drill another hole somewhere and tap it and bring that hole out probably another mil, maybe 2. We can do it. We've got enough room, but that's about it. And that's as much travel as we've got here for the piston to actually go before it gets to the port. All pretty interesting stuff, and you know, all doable. And yeah, if you've got a lathe, well, you can do all this stuff. Once again, this is where small lathes are the best thing for model engines. You know, model making, you don't want some thumping great big monstrous lathe. It's just going to be totally unsuitable. You want a small lathe to do small work. That's why they make them. You know, it's like small aeroplanes and big aeroplanes. They make them for a reason, and lathes are no different whatsoever. Well, there she is. Job done, not much weave there. Turned out pretty good, really, I think. I mean, it's always tricky, you know, doing narrow stuff, because any error will be magnified a lot because of the very short axis. Anything wider, it'll be not as apparent. So you've got to, you know, get things pretty spot on when you do this sort of work. This is where, when you're working on small stuff with metalwork, you use small metalworking equipment. You know, in this case I used my Chinese 10-inch lathe, and I used the Sherline 3 or 4-inch swing lathe, whatever it is, and you know, they do the job. They're good, they're perfect for that sort of work. Once you go bigger than that, well, no, you're really not making it easy on yourself. That's why it bugs the hell out of me. You know, I go on forums, and there's some top people on forums, but there's also some idiots that quite often, you know, pretty much bet on it. Every time a newbie asks, what size lathe should I buy for model engine work and home hobby work, they'll say, buy the biggest lathe you can afford, buy the biggest lathe. You buy the tooling to do the job. And in this case, it's small. And if you think I'm sort of going on about this, well, it really does bug the hell out of me. And I feel sorry for the people that actually listen to those people, because they're complete nongs as far as I'm concerned. And they haven't got a grasp of what people are really wanting to do in their home workshops. You know, they're only doing small stuff like this. Okay, that's it for me. I need a beer. It's getting hot down here, and you probably won't see this run. I mean, will it run? Well, that's a good question. I mean, I've trued things up, but is that the problem? Not sure. Might have to lengthen the stroke a bit. We'll see. But anyway, it gives you a bit of eye candy for now, and you know, in the future months, we're all going to be holed up as this coronavirus thing gets a grip. So you might be watching a bit of YouTube over the next few months. And I've also got a couple of videos coming up. I got a delivery from Bengal today, and it's the hydrogen oxygen generator I reviewed recently. It's the upmarket, much better, I believe, gas torch with half a dozen interchangeable tips. That should be really interesting. I'm looking forward to that. And that'll be next. And once things cool down, of course, it's pretty hot today. And yeah, there's something else coming after that. So stay tuned. If you can't get outside and you're locked in your house, well, what better than YouTube? Okay, see you next time. Cheers.